BMW's produced countless iconic models that dominate the car scene, but there's one model that doesn't get the recognition it deserves. Today we shine the spotlight on an underrated gem that is none other than the BMW 1 Series. So the BMW 1 Series was produced from 2004 all the way up to 2013, and the design on the 1 Series varied across different markets and different countries. You had the E82 coupe, the E88 convertible, the E81, which was a 3-door hatchback, and the E87, which was a 5-door hatchback. On top of that, you had different engines and transmissions all throughout. You had the 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine, which was offered in Europe and other countries, the 4-cylinder naturally aspirated, and then in the United States and other countries' markets, that was shifted for the 6-cylinder N52 engine and the 6-cylinder N54. And these engines range as low as 114 horsepower all the way up to 335 horsepower, depending on the model you have. So in today's video, we'll go over why the 1 Series is such an underrated gem and why all of these different engine setups actually work out to the 1 Series favor. So BMW crafted the 1 Series because they wanted a small, sporty vehicle that still gave the driver a very connected feel to the road. And so they created the hatchback in 2004 because this was a family vehicle that you could still have fun in. You could throw stuff in the back, you could have your kids in the back seat if you got the 5-door model, and still have a nice spirited drive. And many reviews that came out comparing the 1 Series to the Audi A3 and the Mercedes that was out at the time actually showed that the 1 Series was much more fun to drive and overall a better vehicle. And so BMW was able to achieve the goal in creating a competitive vehicle that was sporty, had a nice interior, and a lot of room that you could put a family or throw your kids in the back, etc. And so seeing how good the hatchback did, BMW shifted that over to the E82 coupe and the E88 convertible, which came out at a later time. And the 1 Series truly was a massively pivotal vehicle because it was able to fill the gap from the E46 3 Series that came out prior. The E46 was meant to be the entry-level BMW that was the smallest in size and gave you the most bare bones but connected driving experience, and the 1 Series basically filled that void because the E9X 3 Series that superseded the E46 was much larger, much longer, and overall just a bigger vehicle that offered more. So when BMW went from the E46 to the E9X, they basically created a large gap in their lineup because they went from the small, bare bones, nimble E46 to an E9X that was way more equipped, had a better sound system, more electronics, and more features. And this is where the 1 Series truly comes in play because BMW saw how successful the E46 M3 was and didn't want to just dissipate that lineup and move on to the E9X. That would have not done the E46 much justice. They basically carried those same characteristics on to the 1 Series. Small, nimble, bare bones, hugs the road, and overall is a driver-centered experience. So they basically carried on the lineage of the E46 to the 1 Series. And the 1 Series that was the most popular ended up being the 128i and the 135i. The 128 gave you an inline-6 naturally aspirated engine that was reliable and overall provided a very smooth power band and very smooth acceleration. And now with the engines that were equipped in the more popular 128 and 135i, the 1 Series felt like a pocket rocket. Here you had this tiny little nimble car that weighed right around 3,200 pounds that could accelerate the car quickly and smoothly, and then you throw the turbocharger on top of that from the 135i, you had an absolute missile on the streets. The tiny size of the 1 Series made a small amount of power feel like a lot. So the 128i feels much more nimble and quick than the 328i that came out from the E9X chassis. And so the 135i came equipped with the N54 twin turbocharged inline-6 engine that was good for 300 horsepower and 300 foot-pounds of torque. And that made this tiny vehicle feel a lot faster than it actually is and whip around turns and zip through on a track. And that's because you're getting 300 horsepower, 300 foot-pounds of torque on a vehicle that has 50-50 weight distribution and is much lighter than the 3 Series while still sharing the 3 Series suspension. So basically think of the E92 335i and now condense that down to an even smaller car with the same power and basically the same exact suspension setup. You have an absolute blast to drive, and the aftermarket for the 135i is massive because of this. People realized, whoa, I can get this tiny car that goes often underappreciated, modded up, make it look like an absolute beast and perform like a beast by doing some simple upgrades like intake, tune, exhaust, downpipes, and make this car fly through the road. It's almost like you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting the top qualities of the E46, but then you're getting the top qualities of the E9X 3 Series, all merged together onto a small chassis that offers 50-50 weight distribution. That is basically the best of every world because it's the same exact N52 and N54 engine, again, in a smaller vehicle. And the aftermarket for this car is still insanely large, and they sell for such good prices. You can go on Facebook Marketplace, cars.com, anywhere you go to find cars, and find a 1 Series anywhere from as cheap as $4,000 all the way up to $10,000, $12,000 depending what you're purchasing. And overall, it just makes the BMW 1 Series an amazing value that goes underappreciated. The car often gets underappreciated because stock from the factory, the bulbous headlights and the front end don't look aggressive, but that can be easily fixed with some M upgrades and aerodynamic upgrades on the exterior, and you can make this thing look like an absolute beast. And speaking of beast, we haven't even touched on the true gem, the true crown jewel of the 1 Series, and that is the 1M. Yes, there was an M1 Series. So now the 1M is basically the unicorn. It is extremely rare to find one in good condition, and nowadays the 1M sells for more than it did when it was brand new MSRP. So if you want to buy a good condition, lightly used 1M now, you'll be paying anywhere from $50,000 to $70,000. That's basically as much as the M2 of the F chassis. And that's because these cars aged so beautifully and they were gems. They're honestly pretty rare. I've only seen a couple in person just driving in my day-to-day that weren't at car shows. It is a beautiful vehicle with a twin turbocharged N54 engine, and the 1M is basically the E46 M3 except modernized. BMW carried forward the legacy and the lineage behind the E46 M3 directly into the E8X chassis. And if you look at the 1M and the E46 M3 side by side, you would say, wow, that's literally the newer version. They look so much alike and they offer nearly the same exact horsepower stock. Now the key to the 1M, on top of being extremely rare, is the N54 engine can be tuned up to easily make 500 to 600 horsepower with only a few $1,000s in upgrades. And on top of this, the 1M truly highlighted BMW's vision of a driver-focused car because it was only offered in a manual transmission option. You cannot buy this car in a dual clutch or an automatic setup. The 1M is truly one of the most driver-oriented experiences you could wish for. You feel every single bump and nudge and twist and turn while you're driving, and that allows the driver to really feel like you're on a track even if you're just driving in your normal day-to-day. The 1M is everything BMW did right, all put in one car. And it gets a lot of hate for whatever reason because people say, oh, it's not a real M. It still has the N54 engine. I beg to differ. This vehicle is a real M. From the wide fender flares to all of the aggressive M styling on the exterior to the fact that it only came in a manual transmission and had the N54 engine equipped and is now one of the most rare BMWs to find in tip-top condition just driving out there, I would easily say that the 1M is a goated vehicle. And now hearing about the 1M makes you think, wait, but the 135 has the same N54 engine, right? It basically does with a few minor differences. So what a lot of people do actually is get the 135i that you can pick up for $8,000 modify it, put some exterior upgrades on it, do a 1M conversion maybe, and then you have the equivalent of a 1M for about $20,000-$25,000. And I think what truly makes this vehicle so special is it was a conscious thought on BMW's part of, hey, the 3 Series is getting more expensive, it's getting larger, it's getting equipped with more technology, and it's simply not the entry model BMW somebody could purchase. So why don't we make a car that's bare bones, powerful, and handles extremely well, and is cheaper and carries the legacy forward that the small compact E46 brought us to. And that's basically why they came out with the 1 Series. And I think that conscious effort is so special, and the fact that BMW made a 1M and didn't leave that fruit out to dry, they basically made a modernized version of the E46 M3. I think that is special. The 1M goes down in history as one of the best, if not the best, M car ever made, maybe outside the M2 competition, because this thing is an absolute nimble and powerful track beast. So whether you're wanting an entry-level BMW and you've never had one before, but you want a car that's going to be sporty and fun to drive, you don't want a car that's lackluster and has no emotion, then the BMW 1 Series is for you. So no matter who you are, if you're a first car owner or an enthusiast or somebody who's had BMWs their entire life, the BMW 1 Series is one of the most underappreciated vehicles that's actually a gem. Like I said, it's the best qualities of the 3 Series put down in a smaller chassis that still has 50-50 weight distribution. What more could you want? And that is why, in my opinion, the 1 Series is the most underappreciated and overlooked BMW model of all time. But let me know what you think. Do you like the BMW 1 Series? Have you had one? Do you also think it's underappreciated? Or do you think you'd be better off buying a 3 Series or a different model? I would love to hear what y'all think. Please leave your comments down below, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace out.